Okay, so what we're going to do is this. I was planning on presenting Jacob to you and the life of Jacob, but I decided I need your help with it. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to look at together. We're going to look at the life of Jacob. If I can, oh yeah, hold on just a second here. Okay, we're going to look at the life of Jacob. Okay. It looks like Charlie Brown writing. Well, anyway. All right, I'll make the B too late. Okay. So if you turn to Genesis chapter 25, we're going to look at the life of Jacob, and what we want to try to figure out is what is God saying through the life of Jacob? You've all read the life of Jacob. You probably never read it all at the same time. You've probably just divided up into little pieces, which is okay to do. I was going to do that a little bit if I was going to do Jacob. But I want to look at the whole life of Jacob. And that really goes till about Genesis 33 or somewhere in that range. So we'll go through it fairly quickly, but I need you to help me make some decisions. Because we need, at the end of Genesis, whatever it is, 30-something or other, we need to figure out, why are these stories in the Bible? And what are we supposed to know that God wants us to know, because these stories are in the Bible and they're in the order they're in? Because there's never any mistake the order that the stories are in. God made sure that He put the stories in the order He wanted them in, because as we're going to see, there's things that happen because they're in this order. So we're going to look at that and try to figure out, okay, what's the deal? Okay, because I'm sure that as you read through the life of Jacob, probably like me, you go, I don't get it. Like, why is that in there? So the first thing I don't get is Genesis 25, verse 19, and we're going to read a little bit of this. This is the account of the family line of Abraham's son Isaac. Abraham became the father of Isaac, and Isaac was 40 years old when he married Rebekah, daughter of Bethuel, the Aramean from Padan Aram, and sister of Laban, the Aramean. Laban, remember, was Abraham's brother. Okay? Isaac prayed to the Lord on behalf of his wife because she was childless. The Lord answered his prayer, and his wife Rebekah became pregnant. The babies jostled each other within her, and she said, "Why is this happening to me?" It's a common question. It's biblical. You can say, "Why is this happening to me?" So she went to inquire of the Lord. The Lord said to her, "Two nations are in your womb, and two peoples from within you will be separated. One people will be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger." That obviously is not the way things go in ancient Near East. The older always he's the head of the household kind of thing, and the younger always serves the older. So right at the very beginning, before they were even born, God already set out to say the younger is going to serve the older. Now at this point, Rebekah has no idea which is the older and the younger. Okay? We got to read the story from her point of view. We read it and we put all that in. We go, oh yeah, well obviously because it's Jacob and Jacob's righteous. Really? We have no idea at this point. We just know the older will serve the younger. We don't know what order they're going to come out in. When the time came for her to give birth, there were twin boys in her womb. The first to come out was red, and his whole body was like a hairy garment, so they named him Esau. Esau means hairy. Edom, by the way, means red. And Edom, the Edomites are descendants of Esau. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot of imagery going on there. After this, his brother came out with his hand grasping Esau's heel. So he was named Jacob. Jacob means grasping the heel. If you have a good study Bible, you'll see that. Grasping the heel is a euphemism in Hebrew to mean deceiver. One who grasps the heel is one who is a deceiver. Okay? So they're born. Esau comes out first. Jacob, the deceiver, comes out second. Who's going to serve the younger? Who's going to serve the older? What's the order here? Yeah, so Jacob, the deceiver, is going to be the one who is served by Esau. Does that make sense to you? I know it says that, but does that make sense to you? Does it make sense that the one who is named the deceiver is going to be served by the older? Of course it doesn't make sense, right? If it makes sense to you, I'm going to ask about your children. Okay? So the boys grew up. Verse 27, Esau became a skillful hunter, a man of the open country. He was that kind of guy, right? While Jacob was content to stay at home among the tents. Right? Okay? So you have difference in them. Isaac, who had a taste for wild game, loved Esau, but Rebekah loved Jacob. So at this point in time, what can you say about Jacob? Good or bad? Good or bad? Thumbs up. Good or bad? Or can we? What's that? We don't know. Okay. Anybody want to say he's bad? Anybody want to say he's good? What do we know? Okay, he wasn't a man's man at this point. I'm not sure that. Yeah. Okay. So is he good or bad? Can we call him good? Yeah, Randy's calling him good. I'm going with Randy. Okay, so we have good. Jacob is good. No, exactly. He hasn't done anything wrong yet. But notice as we read it, we put it into it, don't we? Okay? Oh yeah, he's bad because I know what he does. Well, he hasn't done anything yet. He's been born and he's lived. Okay? Once, when Jacob was cooking some stew, Esau came in from the open country, famished. He said to Jacob, "Quick, let me have some of that red stew. I'm famished, or I'm starving." That is why he was also called Edom. Okay, red stew. He was red when he was born. There's this whole thing. Jacob replied, "First, sell me your birthright." Look, man, dude, I'm about to die here. Are you kidding me? Like, come on. Well, okay, whatever. What's a birthright going to do me when I'm dead? Okay, you have the birthright. What's the birthright? What is that? The inheritance. He gets the larger portion of the inheritance, right? And he gets, as part of the larger portion of the inheritance, he gets to call the shots. Okay, he's just in some ways taken the older brother's position. The older will serve the younger. Huh. So Jacob said, "Swear to me first." So he swore an oath to him, selling his birthright to Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau some bread and some lentil stew. Really? Bread and lentil stew? You gave a what? Wow. He ate and drank and then got up and left. So Esau despised his birthright. Jacob, good or bad? You're going to say good? Okay, good. Okay. Bad. We got a bad. Anybody else? Is Jacob good or bad in this story? Okay. We got a good. We got a few bads. What do you think? Let's vote. Good or bad? Okay, everybody who says bad, what is it? Bad. Put up your hand. Bad. How about good? Okay, we got more bads than good, so we're gonna put bad. But you hang on to that good. That's okay. Oh boy, that's bad. Okay. So I need. Do you have that stylus? That pen? Bummer. Okay. We need a MOI one, and then yeah. Okay, so that story, he looks bad. He's tricked his brother. He's deceived well, maybe he hasn't deceived. He hasn't done any deception yet. So it could, So we come to chapter 26, okay? Have you ever wondered why we just finished the birthright story, Jacob and Esau, and we hit chapter 26 and it's all about Isaac and Abimelech? Like, what's it doing there? Doesn't it seem out of place to you? Because in the story, we won't read it, but in the story, we have Isaac. There's a famine in the land, okay? We got the same thing from Abraham, right? There's a famine. Where does he go? He goes to Egypt. Well, Isaac doesn't go to Egypt, but he goes to the Philistines, to Abimelech. And Abimelech says, yeah, don't go down to Egypt, but stay here. Hang out here. There's lots of food for you, lots of room for you. Hang out with me, and we'll be good. So he goes there, and verse 7 of 26. When the men of that place asked him about his wife, he said, she's my sister. I don't know where we've heard this before. Father Abraham, right? Abraham said the same thing. We're going down to Egypt, but Sarah, make sure you say you're my sister. Isaac, I guess he learned well from Pop, right? Like father, like son. Hey, say you're my sister, because if I say you're my wife, they might kill me. So say you're my sister. So they've been there a long time. Verse 8, Abimelech looks out from the window and he sees Isaac and Rebekah caressing. I mean, they're clearly man and wife. They're, catching up on some lost time. And Abimelech goes, what? Kind of like that anyway. Maybe a little deeper, I'm not sure. What? And he goes and confronts Isaac and says, you said she was your sister. What's going on here? That's not the way normal people treat their sister. So she's clearly your wife. And he says, yeah, okay, you caught me. But I just thought, if I said she's my wife, that you were going to kill me. So I said she's my sister. And again, just like in the story of Abraham, you would think that, Pharaoh and here Abimelech would be so furious he would kill them. But he doesn't. He says, okay, good to know, because we were pretty close. Somebody might have taken her for his wife, and that wouldn't have been good, but okay. So he gives orders in verse 11. Anyone who harms this man or his wife shall surely be put to death. That's an odd response to that kind of thing. So Isaac plants crops. The Lord blesses him. He becomes a rich man. He's very wealthy. He had so many flocks and herds and servants that the Philistines envied him. So all the wells that his father's servants had dug in the time of his father Abraham, the Philistines stopped up. They filled them up with earth. So Abimelech finally says to Isaac, look, you need to get out of here. You need to leave this place because there's not enough room for everybody, so you leave. So he leaves and he roams around, and they unearth some more wells, digs them up. And look at the end of this chapter of 26. When Esau was 40 years old, he married Judith, daughter of Beeri, the Hittite, and also Basemath, daughter of Elon, the Hittite. They were a source of grief to Isaac and Rebekah. That's some curious information, some crucial information, right? Why is this chapter here? Well, I think it's going to inform us on what goes on next. Okay, remember Abraham's actions, remember Isaac's actions, and remember that Esau took two wives that were a source of grief to Isaac and Rebekah. We don't know anything about Jacob, but we just know that Isaac, that other guy, Esau, took two wives, okay? When Isaac was old and his eyes were so weak that he could no longer see, he called for Esau, his oldest son, and said to him, my son, here am I. I'm now an old man and don't know the day of my death. So get your equipment, your quiver and your bow, and go out to the open country, hunt some wild game for me. Prepare me some tasty food that I love to eat. Bring it to me, and then I can give you the blessing of the firstborn before I die. Okay? Which was a very significant thing. In those days, fathers blessed their sons, blessed their daughters as well, for that matter, but their children. And the blessing was significant. It was almost prophetic in some ways. Okay, it was kind of like, and sometimes it was, self-fulfilling prophecy in some ways. I'm going to give you this blessing, and if it was a great blessing, you want to grow up into it, right? When I went off to college, my dad said to me, Michael, don't play with the chickens when you can soar with the eagles. Okay, it was kind of his way of blessing me and saying, do well. And all throughout college, I would make decisions of, wait, is this playing with the chickens? Probably let's go soar with the eagles, right? So it's kind of a self-fulfilling thing. So Carissa, when you go to college, don't play with the chickens or with the eagles. So Rebekah was listening, verse 5, and heard all that went on. So she says to Jacob, look, I overheard your dad. Now your dad sent Esau out, and he's going out. You've got a couple of hours because he's not going to catch game that fast. So he's going to cook up this wonderful stew that your dad loves, and he's going to give him the blessing. But here's what you're going to do, Jacob. Here's what you're going to do. Jacob, you are going to go in front of him. You go get a couple of lambs from the flock, and I'll prepare some tasty food for your father just the way he likes it. I know how to do that. I've been married to him for a long time. I know how to do that. And you go. But my father, my brother Esau is a pretty hairy guy. Don't you remember that? Like from the womb and everything? That's why you named him Esau? Hello? Do I look hairy? I have like 2 hairs on my chest, and I've named them. Come on. And so Rebekah says, don't worry about it. I got it. You're going to put some skins on you and with hair on it. And she covers his hands and the smooth part of his neck with goat skins, verse 16. Then she handed to her son Jacob the tasty food and the bread she had made. Okay? So what's Rebekah doing? Yeah, she's enabling, she's deceiving, so right now in this part of the story, Jacob, good or bad? Good or bad? Good? We got a bad? We got a good? Anybody else want to take we got a bad? He's following with his mom because he's like in his mid-30s and he can't say no to his mom. Is that yeah? Okay, I'll remember that. Right. So Jacob's good because he's just got to follow mom, but he is like a grown man at this point. Maybe even in his 40s, because Esau married when, we don't know. Yeah, Esau was 40 years old when he married, and they're twins. So, okay, he's in his 40s. Okay. So he goes, and verse 18, he says, Father, yes, son, who is it? Oh, well, it's me, Esau. I'm your firstborn. Here, I've done what you told me. Sit up and eat some of the game that I've made and give me your blessing. Isaac says, well, how did you find it so quickly? I mean, wow, that was awful good hunting, Well, he says, the Lord your God gave me success. Good or bad? Bad, yeah. So he says, come near so I can touch you, my son, and know whether you really are. So he goes near and he touches the goat skins, and he says, boy, you sound like Jacob, but you feel like Esau. I never could tell you boys apart. You're twins, after all. So he didn't recognize him, for his hands were hairy like those of his brother Esau. So he proceeded to bless him. Are you really my son Esau? He asked. So he's, I'm going to give you the blessing. My son Esau, you're going to... Wait a minute, are you really Esau? Before I do this, I want to really make sure. Jacob's like, ooh, he's sweating. Like, ooh, if I get found out, I'm really in big trouble. So he goes, yeah, I'm your son. So bring me some game. Okay, so he brings him some game. Come here, my son, and kiss me. Oh, man, now I've got to really get close to him. I hope I didn't wear I hope my cologne's the same as, my hungry man cologne's the same as my brother's. So he kisses him, and Isaac caught the smell of his clothes and blessed him. Whose clothes was he wearing? Esau's clothes. Huh. Bad. He says, the smell of my son is like the smell of a field that the Lord has blessed. May God give you heaven's dew and earth's richness and abundance of grain and new wine. May nations serve you and peoples bow down to you. Be Lord over your brothers. Whoa, remember that prophecy? You have twins and the younger will serve the older? And may the younger will serve the older, yeah. And may older serve the younger. I'm confused. And may the sons of your mother bow down to you. May those who curse you be cursed, and may those who bless you be blessed. After Isaac finishes blessing him, Jacob barely gets out of there in time, like, man, this is taking longer than I thought. Hurry up and eat, old man. Come on. Let me help you. Just give me the blessing. He just gets out of there, and in comes Esau. He's prepared some tasty food. He says, Father, sit up and eat some of my game so that you may give me your blessing. Who are you? I'm Esau. I'm your firstborn. And he trembles violently. He knows he's been tricked. He's like, I do recognize your voice, and I do know I've just been tricked. And he says, bless me too. I can't, he says. Your brother came deceitfully and took your blessing. And Esau says, well, he is rightly named Jacob then, isn't he? Right? Little deceiver. And he takes his birthright and he says, give me a blessing. Don't you have anything for me? And Isaac says, I can't do much for you. I've made him lord over you and have made all of his relatives his servants, and I have sustained him with grain and new wine. I've given him everything. What can I possibly do for you? And he says, do you have only one blessing? Give me a blessing too. His father Isaac answered him, your dwelling will be away from the earth's richness and away from the dew of the heaven above. You will live by the sword and you will serve your brother. But when you grow restless, you will throw his yoke off from your neck. So Esau held a grudge against Jacob. He wanted to kill him. All right. So far we have another, I think it's safe to say we have another one in the bad column, right? Okay. Jacob is bad. Not very good there. Okay. So Rebekah hears about it, and she sends for Jacob and says, Jacob, your brother Esau's planning to kill you, and he will. He's a mighty hunter. You know, you're good playing the piano and the harp and dance. You look good in your little, whatever those are. But you can't fight with your older brother. You know that. Every time, no, you just can't do it. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to leave. I don't want to lose. I don't want to lose you. So you're going to leave. So Rebekah, she's good at this plotting stuff. She says, okay, here's what I'm going to do. She goes to Isaac and says, I can't stand Esau anymore. If I have to deal with my two daughter-in-laws anymore, I am going to kill them. I can't stand them. I don't want them in this house. I don't want them eating my food. I don't want anything to do with those two Hittite women. Why did he marry those Hittite women? You know they've given us nothing but grief, Isaac, nothing but grief. Are you happy with them? No, you're not happy with them. Nobody's happy with these Hittites. Why does Esau keep doing this to us? So here's what we got to do. We don't want Jacob to fall into Hittite women, so why don't we send Jacob away? Let's send Jacob to our relatives in Haran, and let's let him get a wife of our own blood, a wife of our own family. And Isaac says, yeah, you're right. I don't want to marry a Canaanite woman. You're right, Rebekah. Let's tell Jacob to go off. So Jacob, he says, go at once to the house of your mother's father, Bethuel. Take a wife for yourself there among the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. May God Almighty bless you and make you fruitful and increase your numbers until you become a community of peoples. May he give you and your descendants the blessing given to Abraham, so that you may take possession of the land where you now reside as a foreigner, the land God gave to Abraham. Then Isaac sent Jacob on his way. Isaac gave Jacob another blessing. He gave him another blessing. Rebekah knew that Jacob better run for his life. She goes to Isaac and says, let's send him on his way with a blessing. Let's give him another blessing. And he says, yeah, you're right. Jacob, I don't want you to become like my son Isaac, because, man, that's grievous to our soul. You go, and I'll give you Abraham's blessing. Okay? Because blessing from Abraham to Isaac, and now it's gone to Jacob. Jacob, good or bad? Why do you say bad? Interesting statement. He doesn't deserve the blessing. Okay? You were saying? Dishonesty. I mean, he was complicit with all of these deceits, right? He knew what he was doing. The man's in his 40s. Okay? So did his mother. Wow. We'll do a whole different thing on Rebekah. Yeah. Okay, say it louder.
No one deserves that blessing, not even Abraham, because nobody's perfect, and that's where God's mercy comes in.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, so Jacob arrives in Padan Aram, his mother's brother's house. He gets there, he saw the sheep. Jacob asked the shepherds in verse 4, where are you from? We're from Haran. They replied, which is where Abraham and his father went to. It was named after his uncle, or his great uncle, Haran. And he says, they find out they are relatives, all that kind of thing. Verse 9 of 29, while he was still talking with them, Rachel came with her father's sheep, for she was a shepherd. When Jacob saw Rachel, he went, "Ooh, now that is a woman I can love. Wow, yeah, okay." All right? So it's like, yeah. So he sees Rachel and is like all about that. And so he thinks, all right, this is good. Jacob kisses Rachel, begins to weep aloud. He's not the hunter-gatherer guy. He's the crying, tutu, piano-playing harpist, okay? So he embraces, kisses them. Laban said, "You're my flesh and blood." Yes, we are family. So he stays with them a whole month. He says, just because you're my relative of mine, why should you work for me for nothing? What do you want from me? What are the wages? I mean, I don't want to treat you badly, so what are the wages? Well, he says, you've got 2 daughters. Now, in verse 16 and 17, he has 2 daughters. The older one was Leah, and the younger was Rachel. Why are we talking older and younger here? What does it make you think of? We already talked about older and younger, right? The older will serve the younger. Okay? Is the author setting this up for us? Yeah, he is. It's not a mistake that he mentions there's 2 daughters now. One's older and one's younger. So we're going to find out what happens there. Leah is the older. Rachel is the younger. So he says, look, I want to marry Rachel. So that's the wage. I will work for you, and so you can give me Rachel. Because verse 17, Leah had weak eyes. Usually kind of means like she wasn't very pleasant to look at. Okay? Whereas Rachel had a lovely figure and was beautiful. Okay? So when you looked at Rachel, your eyes lit up and you went, ooh. When you looked at who was the other one? Leah, you just kind of went, yeah, okay. Right? So Laban says, okay. He says, you work for, he says, Jacob says, I'll work for 7 years in return for your younger daughter, Rachel. Well, it's better that I give you to her than to some other man. So stay here, and you work for 7 years, and we'll have a big marriage, and you can marry Rachel. So, after 7 years go by, Jacob says to Laban, well, give me my wife. My time is completed. I want to make love to her. Okay, sorry, this is uncomfortable for Carissa. Laban brought together all the people, and they had a big feast. Evening comes, and he took his daughter Leah and brought her to Jacob. And Jacob makes love to Leah. Who did he just marry? Oh, he just married Leah. He thought he was going to marry Rachel, but he just married Leah. Okay? They went through the whole ceremony. She's got the veil on her, they're partying. He doesn't really notice. There's another reason you should not drink, Carissa. Okay? So in the morning, he wakes up and goes, what happened? Right? And he's mad. And he storms off to Laban. He says, what have you done to me? We had a deal. I said 7 years, Rachel. You said yes, and you gave me Leah. What's going on? And Laban said, well, we have a custom here that I marry the older first and then the younger. So, dude, if you want Rachel, you got another 7 years for me. Wow. Here's a guy who Jacob, I think, has met his match, don't you think? Jacob, good or bad? Why bad? Yeah, but he's just got taken advantage of. I mean, did he do anything bad in this story? Okay, but in this story, did he do anything bad here? I'm going to say he's good. In this story, I think he's good. He hasn't done anything wrong. He's worked for 7 years. He has not had sex with her for 7 years. He's waited. On his wedding night, he waits, and he's deceived. He hasn't done anything wrong. You'd be mad too. That's different. So I would say Jacob's good. So he works another 7 years, and they have another big party, and finally, in verse 30, Jacob made love to Rachel also, and his love for Rachel was greater than his love for Leah, and he worked hard. He worked for Laban another 7 years, okay? So when the Lord saw that Leah was not loved, he enabled her to conceive, but Rachel remained childless. Okay, so we got more conflict arising here, okay? You know, this theme of childlessness runs through Abraham's family, doesn't it? And what was the promise that God gave to Abraham? Lots of descendants, as many as the stars in the sky and as many as the sands of the seashore. So we've got some things to overcome here. So Leah becomes pregnant. She gives birth to a son, names him Reuben. She conceives again, gives birth to a son, gives him name Simeon. Again, she conceives, verse 34, and at last she says, my husband will become attached to me because I've borne him 3 sons, and so she names him Levi. She conceived again, and when she gave birth to a son, she said, this time I will praise the Lord. In other words, I am tired of trying to please Jacob. I'm just praising the Lord on this one. Right? I mean, it didn't work with Jacob. He still doesn't love me. He still thinks Rachel is awesome and I'm ugly, so whatever. This one is for God. Interestingly, what name does he give him? Judah. Whoa, now there's a foreshadow, right? Because this time I will praise the Lord, gives him the name Judah. The line of the kings come from Judah. Jesus comes from Judah. I mean, this is full of stuff. Only when we read it right, though. Then she stopped having children. She's got 4. Rachel, she sees in chapter 30 that she's not bearing any children to Jacob. She's jealous of her sister. We got the jealousy thing happening. Oh my goodness. So she says to Jacob, give me children or I'll die. It's your fault. It's your fault. If you would do it right, we'd have children. Whatever you're doing with Leah, do with me. Jacob becomes angry. Says, am I in the place of God? It's not my fault. It's your fault. It's not my problem. It's your problem. Go to God. If you got trouble with this, go to God. Talk to him. Don't talk to me. I mean, come on. Give me a break here, Rachel. Interesting. Things are turning a little bit. So she says, okay, fine. Here's my servant, Bilhah. Go sleep with her so she can bear children for me. Okay. So he sleeps with Bilhah, and she gave him a boy. Let's see. She becomes pregnant, has a son. God has vindicated me. He's listened to my plea. He's given me a son. Not really, Rachel. I think you're a little bit off. And so she names him Dan. Rachel's servant conceives again, a second son, names him Naphtali. Leah sees that she stopped having children, so she says, okay, here, have my servant. Have Zilpah. And Jacob's like, yeah. And so he has sex with Zilpah and bears a son and names him Gad. Leah's servant Zilpah bore him a second son, names him Asher. Whew. During the wheat harvest, Reuben went out to the fields and found some mandrake plants, which brought to his mother Leah. Rachel said to Leah, "Please give me some of your son's mandrakes." She said, "Wasn't it enough you took my husband away? Will you also take my son's mandrakes too? Like, he's my husband, Leah. Dad deceived Jacob. He's supposed to be mine, and you're having all the sons, and I don't have any. Now you want my son's mandrakes? I don't think so." "Okay, well then, if you give me the mandrakes, he can sleep with you tonight." "Okay, fine. Give me the mandrakes." And she goes and sleeps with Jacob. Leah goes out, "You must sleep with me tonight. I've hired you with my son's mandrakes." What? What is going on here? This thing gets worse. This is like, man, I just paid to sleep with you tonight, Jacob. Oh my goodness. So he sleeps with her that night. God listened to Leah and became pregnant and bore Jacob a fifth son and named him Issachar. Leah conceived and bore a sixth son and named him Zebulun. Sometime later, she gave birth to a daughter. Oh, something's happening in the story. Gives birth to a daughter named Dinah. Then God remembered Rachel and listened to her and enabled her to conceive. Here's something important. She came pregnant and gave birth to a son and said, "God has taken away my disgrace." She named him Joseph. May the Lord add to me another son. So her first son from her and Jacob was Joseph. All right, so we're going to get into Joseph in the Technicolor coat next week probably. So he's got 11 sons. He finally says, "Look, Laban, I got to go back home. I mean, I've been here a long time." Yeah, well, yeah. I don't know. He's a shepherd. He's in good shape. Hey, my daughter's here. Would you just cut it out? Okay, so anyway, he says, I got to go home. So Laban, "If I found favor in your eyes," verse 27. But Laban says, well, wait. If I found favor in your eyes, just stay. Let me enjoy my grandchildren, and just name your wages and I'll pay them. So, by the way, at this point, we didn't say Jacob good or bad. Busy, she says. It's hard to say if he's good or bad, right? It's kind of like, I don't know. 50-50? Okay. All right, we'll just leave the list as it is then. I mean, bad in the sense that he's, slept with 4 women. Good in the sense that he really hasn't done anything seriously. Well, no. Okay, never mind. But he's making his marriages work. Doesn't look like it to me. I hired you tonight. I think that's a pretty weak one. But, in that culture, many wives was not an issue. So probably in his mind, it really wasn't, whatever. It doesn't matter. Jacob says, "I've worked for you and you have fared well. All the livestock has increased greatly. You've been blessed. Whatever I've done has gone well." And Laban says, "Well, what can I give you?" Jacob says, I don't want anything, but do this for me. I'm going to keep tending your flocks and watching over them. And let me go through all the flocks and remove every one that's speckled or spotted, and every dark-colored lamb of speckled or spotted coat. Okay, so give me all the black ones, or anything that's not pure white, I'll take. Okay, black sheep are pretty rare. Spotted ones are really rare. So Laban's thinking, I'm getting a great deal. This is awesome. Okay, cool. I'm ahead again. I got him to work 14 years for 2 wives, and he's been working a long time, and now I'm going to keep most, 3/4, 9/10 of my flock. Yeah, okay. This Jacob, he's pretty stupid. I like this son-in-law. So, agreed, Laban says, let it be done. And so Jacob, he starts calling them all out, and he goes away for a 3 days journey away. And he takes fresh cut branches from the poplar tree, almond and plane trees, and made stripes on them by peeling back the bark and exposing the inner wood, the sap, and he places them in the watering trough. So the sap and the water mix. There is somehow, I don't know, I'm not a shepherd, and all of my research, I can't tell you for certain, but there is something in that sap that causes the birth of sheep to be mottled in color. So they're not pure white, okay? So Jacob, he's got this down. He knows his trees. He knows his wood, all right? So he throws that in there, and they all come and drink. And, the next year, there's all this mottled and black sheep. And it's like, woo, right? I've got a lot now. So in this way, verse 43, in this way, the man grew exceedingly prosperous and came to own large flocks and female and male servants and camels and donkeys. Jacob is a wealthy man. Good or bad? Has he been good or bad in this story? Bad? Why do you say bad?
Well, he did that little trick with the sheep so he could have more sheep.
Yeah, but his father-in-law ripped him off. I mean, he didn't do anything wrong. Well, he didn't do anything wrong, technically. All he said was, I'll take all the black ones, and I know how to make them black or mottled. Is that wrong?
Yes.
Why is it wrong?
Well, because he's deceiving Laban.
Well, I don't know if it's deception as much as it is, well, yeah, to a degree, I guess I'd have to agree. It is a bit of a deception. However, the man knows his sheep. And so he's only getting paid back for what he owes, what he's owed. I mean, it wasn't wrong for him to put the sap in there. It wasn't wrong for him to do that. Was it? Why was it wrong?
Well, because he knew what he was going to get. He was going to get more colored and speckled sheep than white sheep, and Laban was going to have the white sheep, and he was going to have the colored and speckled.
Nothing wrong with that.
Doesn't necessarily mean that he has more sheep than Laban, though, because Laban's sheep are still mating. So they're still going to have more sheep. So it'll. No, I think it's a win-win, because Laban clearly doesn't want the black sheep.
Laban already said, I don't want the black sheep. I just want, whatever is black, you can have. Maybe good, maybe bad. That's for you to decide. We could put one in each column, but I don't know that Jacob did anything really bad here. I mean, his father-in-law was a shepherd. Why didn't his father-in-law say, yeah, but don't put the bark in there? Maybe he didn't know about that. Whatever, you decide. You decide. He could be, what's that? He was clever. Nothing wrong with being clever, right? Cleverly deceitful? No, I don't know. Well, that is true. There's a lot of mistrust going on around here. So, anyway, chapter 31. So Jacob heard that Laban's sons were saying, Jacob has taken everything our father owned and has gained all this wealth from what belonged to our father. And Jacob noticed that Laban's attitude toward him was not what it had been. Laban realized, Jacob's done something to get a lot of wealth. I feel like I've been ripped off somehow. I don't know exactly how he did it, but so Jacob's like, okay, it's definitely time to leave. We've made our wealth. We've made our point. I've got my children. Time to leave. So Jacob sends word to Rachel and Leah to come out to the fields where his flocks were. He said, I see that your father's attitude toward me is not what it was before, but the God of my father has been with me. You know how I've worked. So he explains what's going on. He has a dream, verse 10, in breeding season, I once had a dream. So he tells him about the spotted and speckled and all of that kind of thing. And he gets this dream, an angel of God says, look up and see that all the male goats mating with the flock are streaked, speckled, or spotted. For I've seen all that Laban has been doing to you. I am the God of Bethel, where you anointed a pillar and where you made a vow to me. Now leave this land at once and go back to your native land. Oh, no, wait a minute. He had a dream. He had a dream where the angel of the Lord said, I'm going to give you all the spotted and speckled sheep and goats. So, good or bad? Hard to call it bad if the angel of the Lord says, here's the plan. Okay? I'm going to throw good on that column. He tells Leah, we're getting out of here. And so they leave. He puts his children and wives on camels. They leaves. Verse 22. The third day, Laban was told that Jacob had fled. So Laban pursues him, catches up to him, and Laban is mad. What are you doing? Why did you didn't even tell me you were going to leave. I couldn't even kiss my grandchildren goodbye. You jerk. What kind of a son-in-law are you? Right? You really don't like Jacob, do you? So Jacob says, look, I was afraid because I thought you would take your daughters away from me by force. I don't trust you, man. You ripped me off, and you've always been trying to rip me off, and it weren't for my own smarts and maybe the angel of the Lord telling me what to do, I would be in worse shape. So, dude, I'm getting away from here. But I'll tell you what, Laban, if you can find anyone who has your gods, that person shall not live, because the household gods were taken away. And so he's looking for the household gods. Well, Rachel has them, verse 35. Rachel said to her father, don't be angry with me, my lord. I cannot stand up in your presence. I'm having my period. So he searched but could not find the household gods. She put them in the saddle of her camel, and she was sitting on them. Wonder where Rachel learned the whole deception thing from. There's a lot of deception going around here. Sorry, Dad, I'd love to get off my camel, but I got my period. Don't talk to me. That's girl stuff. Okay, stay on your camel. Right? She knew what she was doing. So Jacob now is angry at Laban. Okay, you searched, you couldn't find him. What was my crime, Dad? Come on. And so Laban says, okay, I've wronged you, and let's just have a big party. I've been with you for 20 years, Laban, so none of your sheep miscarried. You've been blessed. I didn't do anything wrong for you. In fact, I have prospered you because God's been with me. So what are you angry for? And he says, yeah, you're right, okay. And so they have a big party, and they set up this pillar, and they make a covenant together, and they go their way. So, chapter 32, Jacob is going on his way. The angels of God met him. When Jacob saw them, he said, this is the camp of God. So he named the place Mahanaim. He sent messengers. That's interesting. The angels of God met him. We're undecided whether Jacob is good or bad. We're 3 for 3, 3 and 3 here. I mean, there's some bad stuff, there's some good stuff, but somehow the angel of the Lord meets him, or the angels of the Lord meet him. So he sends messengers ahead to his brother Esau, says, hey, I'm coming home. I have all sorts of cattle and donkey and sheep and goat and female slaves, and I'm hoping I find favor in your eyes. Forgive me, right, is what he's saying. So Jacob is afraid of going back to Esau. He splits everybody up, so if they're attacked, at least not everybody will die. He crosses the Jordan River. He puts them in 2 camps, and he spends the night on the other side of the Jordan River. And he selects a gift for his brother Esau, and he sends those gifts ahead. And he keeps sending those gifts ahead so that as Esau comes, he'll get this gift of camels, and he'll get this gift of cattle, and he'll get the gift of sheep, and he'll get the gift of donkeys. And he's like, whoa, somebody really likes me. Okay, my brother's done well. Maybe he's not so bad after all. And that night, verse 22, Jacob got up and took his 2 wives, his 2 female servants, and his 11 sons, and crossed the ford of the Jabbok. He sent them over, and that night he wrestles. He wrestled with the man, till daybreak. Then the man said, let me go, for it's daybreak. Jacob replied in verse 26, I will not let you go unless you bless me. What is your name? Jacob. The man said, your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you've struggled with God. What does Israel mean? Struggled with God. Interesting. right? Struggle with God. What do we know about the nation Israel? Struggle with God. What is Jacob doing? Struggling with God. I mean, he's been doing it the whole time. So Jacob is blessed once again. So he blessed him. The man blesses him. Jacob's getting blessed quite a bit. Would you bless Jacob? Good or bad, right? I mean, it's mostly like, I don't know. I'm not sure that I'd be blessing Abraham. Yeah, I'd bless Abraham. Isaac, yeah, I don't have any problem with Isaac. Jacob, the deceiver, what he did to his dad, what he did to his brother, what he did to... I don't know. Maybe I am. So, chapter 33, Jacob looks up and there's Esau and 400 men with him. And so he divides his children and he's dividing everything. And Esau in verse 8 says, what's the meaning of all these flocks and herds that I've met? Well, it's to find favor in your eyes, my Lord. I bet you he never called him his Lord when he was growing up. I bet you he said, yeah, I got your inheritance, I got your blessing, nana boo boo, and even though he was 40-something. And Esau says, look, dude, I've got plenty, my brother. I mean, I'm a rich man. Keep it for yourself. We're both wealthy. In fact, it was a good thing you went away. I got wealthy, you got wealthy. Jacob says, no. It's a gift. I want you to have it. And so he accepts the present, and they're okay, and they settle down next to Esau, and they're buddies. I'm running out of time, so I don't want to go through too much anymore. But we have the story of Dinah and the Shechemites. Okay. Whose daughter was Dinah again? Remember, it was mentioned particularly? Dinah. What's that? Yes. So we have the story of Dinah is essentially raped, and Jacob's sons decide to take matters into their own hands, and they say to the Shechemites, okay, you know what, you can marry Dinah, so we'll give her to you as your wife, jerks. But here's the condition: if we're to marry into your family, or you're to marry into our family, you all have to be circumcised. Okay? Don't know if I want to do that. Well, yeah, I love Dinah so much, and they talk about it, and everyone says, okay, everybody in the village, they've got some great-looking women over there, and so we need more people in our village, and this is the way we're going to do it. So everybody, you're going to be circumcised, and we can marry whoever we want, okay? Yeah, okay, cool. So they get circumcised, uncool. There's a lot of this stuff in the Bible when you really start reading it. So they get circumcised. 3 days later, they're hurting. Okay, they're hurting men. And so Jacob's sons come in when they're all laying around hurting in pain, and they kill them all because they can't fight back, at least not the way they want to. I mean, when you're circumcised, you're not putting on your tight undies, right? So they aren't putting on their war uniforms and going to war. They're stumbling around in their whatever, or whatever they're not stumbling around in, okay? And so they kill them all. Jacob is not very happy with that. He says to Simeon and Levi, you've brought trouble on us by making me obnoxious to the Canaanites and Perizzites, the people living in this land. We're few in number, and if they join forces and attack me, I and my household will be destroyed. But they reply, hey, our sister shouldn't be treated like a prostitute. You weren't doing anything, Jacob, so we did. Good or bad, Jacob? I'm voting bad. That's his daughter. Your daughter gets raped, you're just going to go, I don't think so. Your daughter gets taken advantage of, you're not going to say something? Jacob didn't. I'm going to put Jacob in the bad category for this. And writing with my left hand is bad. So, chapter 35. God says to Jacob, go back to Bethel, house of God. That's where he saw the angels ascending and descending. Okay, go back to Bethel, set up an altar, worship me, And so he goes back, he worships God, God blesses him. Verse 10, your name is Jacob, but you will no longer be called Jacob, your name will be Israel. So he named him Israel. That's the second time that happens, right? I am the God Almighty, he says, verse 11, be fruitful and increase in number. A nation and a community of nations will come from you, and kings will be among your descendants. The land I gave to Abraham and Isaac I also give to you, and I will give this land to your descendants after you. Then God went up from him at the place where he had talked with him. Jacob sets up a stone pillar, pours a drink offering on it, and that's about it. End of our story for today. Isn't it strange, at least it is to me, at the end of Jacob's life, good, bad, bad, good, it's a mix. Jacob is not our favorite guy. Jacob's not the guy we want to pattern our lives after. Jacob is not the guy you would say, there's a godly man that I could be like. That's a man of integrity right there, Jacob. Yet God blessed him numerous times. And in the end, God says, I give you the promise that I gave Abraham, and I give you the promise I gave Isaac. I give it to you. I'm renaming you Israel. You be a great nation. I will bless you. Those who bless you, I will bless. Those who curse you, I will curse. I'll give you all this land. I'll make your name great. Does that confuse you? Why does he do that? We've just walked through it. What do you think? What are we to learn here? What is God saying through this life of Jacob? Yeah, Michelle just went, oh, yeah. What's that? Nobody's perfect. But remember what you said before? Mercy. What's another word for mercy? Grace. Grace. In the very beginning, before he was born, God said, the older will serve the younger. And at the end of his life, he blesses him. Now, we haven't come to the very end of his life, but he blesses him. What God promises, God will make happen. Does it depend on your actions? Can your bad deeds undo what God's promised? Can your good deeds ensure what God's promised? No. No. If you were to come up with a big idea card for this, what would it be? What happens when God chooses you? Fill in the rest. What happens when God chooses you as his child? Any suggestions? Life gets interesting. What happens when God chooses you as his child, even when life is interesting? He will keep his promise. Pardon me? You're his forever. You can't undo what God's promised, and you can't do what God has promised. You are a child of God. We all here are children of God. And he's promised us eternal life. And he's promised us abundant life. What happens when God chooses you as his child? He keeps his promise. It's not about good or bad. It's about God and his grace. So you've just preached a message. So next week, Marshall's going to do that. No. So that's the process. That's the process I go through every time I go through one of these things. What is God really saying? Pay attention to the details. Pay attention to the unexpected. Don't read it like you know it, because you don't. Read it like you've never heard it before and you don't know how it ends. And then you can really know what God's saying. What happens when God makes you his child? He keeps his promises. Let's pray. God, thank you that we are your children, and you have told us that and promised us that. And you've promised us abundant life, everlasting life, a peace that passes understanding. You have promised us that you will never leave us or forsake us. You have given us many promises. And so, God, we trust you. We know that our bad actions won't undo it, and we know that our good actions won't impress you to make you do it even more. But we know, God, it's your grace. It's your mercy. It's all about you. So thank you for being your children. Thank you for calling us. And God, let us live expectantly for your promises to come true to us. In your name I ask and pray. Amen.